Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Wilson. I am here with.
Hi everybody, it's Andrew Plank and Sid. How are you? I had to pick the cat up. He was meowing and going nuts. So
Is it me or is Sid bigger? Way bigger.
Well, yeah, I mean he gets bigger all the time, but he's perspective, right? I caught this fish. Look at how big this fish is.
How old is Sid now?
He's going to be 8 months. He's a little over 8 months.
Oh, so how was your week?
Good week. Yeah, pretty busy. Got a few people who will be listing with me. You keep asking me every week. Yeah, I know. It's been a slow year, later part of the year for listings for me, which, it's hard when I do these things with you and you're like, oh, I've got 3 listings coming up. But it's still been a good year overall for real estate for me. So anyway, but business has been good. And I've had a great week. And I'm trying to get out of town. So I've been preparing for a little getaway, and I've had a lot of good activity with friends lately and went and watched Tig Notaro on Saturday night. She's a comedian who played at the Royal. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, I had a really great mid-year, I guess, so far. And then I'm feeling a bit stalled right now, but we're going to talk about the market and we'll see why we're feeling stalled. So You want to hop right into that?
Sure. Let's do that.
Let's do that. Okay, here we are. The market shift is on. Let me take the overlay off. Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing a market update for August 8th, 2022.
We do this every month. We have the new stats for the stats from the previous month. So we'll go over those. And we also just do our regular market update about what happened in the last week. So Jane, take it away.
Okay. So new listings this past week, we're at 227. This is compared to 93 that have sold. Those have gone pending. And this is very close to what it was the last week of July, where it was 214 with 98 sold. We have price decreases of 129. And again, this is slightly higher than the week before of 117. And Andrew?
Well, sure. And then so we have, 60 properties expired in the last week, 65 the week before. They tend to expire towards the end of the month because that's just how people tend to write their contracts. Not surprising that number is actually down. 5 properties withdrawn. I want to go back and just say, when you look from the last week to this week, and you see, the numbers for new listings is up week over week. The number for pendings is down week over week. The number of price decreases is up week over week. So that does tell us that the market is softening. That being said, we still have, actually, I guess next slide, we'll see this. We still have, in terms of active listings, definitely that number is moving up. I'm just going to draw attention to the bottom right, August 2022. So the bottom second from the right column. We have 2,157 active listings. That's up over last year by, over 1,000 listings, but still really low compared to what our standard inventory in Victoria tends to be. So although, I just want to point that out and really stress that, although sales are slowing, listings are increasing, we still are really low for active listings and we still have a lot of buyers.
So the graph on the left, which says August 1st, is actually a summary of July. So 510 net unconditional sales. That's compared to 835 the year before. I would say 510 for a month in July actually is pretty normal. And then there were 1,101 new listings compared to 971 last year. Again, that's more normal. And if we look at this month for 8 days on the market, we have 236. So we're up with that number. Again, we're going to probably see about 1,000 new listings, I think.
Definitely, yeah. We're on point. And this is August. This is summer. It's typically a slower time of year. I've been telling people I think we're going to really start to see and be able to tell something from the stats come the fall. But summertime is a lot harder because there's just less data to deal with and less people just generally doing business.
Yeah, but month over month, our active listings is fairly similar, of 2,157. And net unconditional sales in the last week have been 83. So that's 1/10 of what we had last year in August. And I expect we're going to see numbers around the 500 mark again. Thoughts?
Right. So we're a quarter of the way into the month, and we're 1/10 of the sales from the last year. So true. Again, though, like last year was a stellar year for business.
It was a stellar year.
We need to keep that in mind.
Okay, so let's just go year over year. So 2 years ago, we had 2,600 listings. We were just coming off the first phase of COVID. The numbers went down year over year to about 1,400, and now they're back up to just under 2,200. So I think it's fairly normal, this number.
Yeah, and the curve is looking fairly normal as well.
Yeah.
Starting to slow down as we enter like late spring and early summer.
So I remember when we were doing this podcast 2 years ago, we were talking about this even line across and how crazy it was. We were having like 1,000 sales a month from July to October, which is totally unheard of. And last year was more normal, but the listings were still low. So you can see the list to sale ratio is very close together. And here now this year, we're seeing the listings come up and the sales actually still remain lower than last year. So that's why our inventory is increasing.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the story of both years. The center sort of hump here, you can see that a large number of listings, that's going to be the bars. But the line graph, which is the sales, is pretty high up there, and pretty consistently close to the top of each of those bars. Whereas now we're kind of more in the middle range and lower, and you can see this ratio where we started the year with that bar of sales really closely matching and following a trend like the year before, and now that difference is getting wider and wider, and we've been seeing that in our stats every week. So when you look at July 2022, that dot where the line is much lower than it would have been July 2021.
And so when we talk about the list to sales.
Well, let's continue with the stats. We're going to talk about our own experiences in the market and what we're seeing.
Can you hear me? I'm not sure if it's me or him, but I can hardly hear him.
I don't know. You cut out, so I don't know if anybody in the chat can comment, but I couldn't hear anything you said.
Okay. That's okay. So let's just go. So
great.
This what we're really talking about is the absorption rate. So the time that it takes for listing.
Let's keep trying.
Pardon? Can you hear me? I can now not hear you at all.
Again,
okay.
And you cut out. I hope somebody in comments can tell me whether it's me or you. I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
oh my God.
What we're looking at
back
here
and forth.
What we're looking at here is the absorption rate. So which is a ratio and how many months we have of listings on the market.
Okay. So I can hear you now. Oh my God.
Can you hear me now? This is like a bad commercial. Can you hear me now? Oh God.
Yeah, and you can see that it's going down to words of balance mark.
Okay, I am telling my daughter to get off the internet.
It's really horrible.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? No. All right. Well, we're having fun anyway. So what we saw in February was crazy. The list
Okay.
sale ratio was 120%. What that meant was as soon as
I can hear
properties were
you.
on the
Oh my God,
market.
this is like the work calls from the night. Like,
Stop interrupting me. You're driving me crazy.
I feel
Can
like
you
we're out of sync. I'm not like, I don't think these are even lining up because I'm not interrupting you.
hear me now?
I can, but you talk and then your visual is all out of sync. So I don't even know if we're talking in the same.
I'll be right back.
Okay, so I'm going to try this and just continue on. And if anybody could put into the comments what they're seeing of this gong show, that'd be great to know. If I'm delaying, if Jane is delaying, what you're seeing, because I'm having a hard time understanding what's going on here. Anyway, so we are, as you can see from this sales to active listings ratio, the uptake of properties is moving towards a more balanced market. Moving on to the next slide. Maybe it's the slide that's doing it. Let's just keep going.
Oh, okay. So, single family home prices are coming down. What I'm finding right now is that a lot of buyers are coming in and saying to my sellers, we're going to come in with an all cash offer. So you're so lucky, by the way, to get this offer now that we're coming in really low. Sellers aren't having it. What are you finding? What's your experience there?
Well, I've always said this, and I've always this is an understanding that took me a while from being in real estate. But the thing is that sellers don't move as fast as buyers when the market shifts. They don't always have to sell, so they will change their plans, or they have a requirement to sell and buy something else. They're not going to reduce their price as quickly as buyers would like them to. And it requires that time on market for things to start happening where there's proven sales at lower price points, and then there's conversations with the realtors and more realistic. People have to get more realistic at that time. It's always been in any market important to have a sharp pencil and get the pricing right. It's just
Right.
more critical now.
With 1 day or 3 days on the market, don't come in not expecting to pay close to asking, because the seller, it's called price elasticity. And over time, if we look at, if this is list price and this is time, 1 day on the market, the seller doesn't have that much flexibility. Over time is when the flexibility will come in. So you have to wait 2 or 3 weeks if you want to get money off a new listing, I think. But right now, what's happening is, I'm finding specifically, is realtors, and they tend to be newer realtors who maybe haven't experienced this before, are like coming in and they're kind of going for blood. And sellers are going, I'm not really interested. What are you finding?
Exactly. I 100%. And I just recently lost a client because we were having constant, conversations over and over again about the market and the reality of making, of where the market was. And there was a discrepancy in our beliefs of where the market is. And this happens. And if you're not on the same page, it's probably best to find other folks to work with. But the reality is that when somebody first lists their home for sale, they have an expectation, they have a belief, they've had a conversation with their realtor, and they know how many showings they have lined up the next day and the day after that, and they're not going to take $100,000 off their price point right on the first day. I mean, maybe there's a unicorn seller out there that will do this, but they're very, very rare and very, very seldom, and it's not a policy that I would want to, or a strategy that I would want to beat. Now, that being said, it's important to look at comparable properties and see what else is sold out there. And if someone is off the mark but they have a property that you like, then there's a conversation to be had. And I certainly don't mind calling an agent to say, hey, what's the motivation of your seller? They don't have to tell me, but what's the motivation, and are they negotiable, and how would they respond if I brought you a unconditional offer well off the asking price today? Is it going to meet the seller's needs?
Yeah, have a discussion with the realtor before you bring the pricing in, because they can maybe save you some time. And we have to go through the seller to ask them for their feedback, but we can maybe save you some time. And I've had some questions from established realtors saying, this is where my client's at. I'm like, well, I'll talk to the seller. And usually the seller goes, that's not where I'm at yet.
Yeah.
But also explain where your pricing is coming from. Because if you're coming in with a low ball offer and there's no justification based on what has not sold.
Mm-hmm. Well, I find that buyers are trying to get ahead of the reality of the market because this is the opposite of where we were last year and the last few years, where people were willing to pay more for a property because they felt like in the future they're going to more than the market is saying for a property, because they felt in the future the market would catch up with them. Now it's the opposite. Buyers are feeling like, I don't want to pay market value for a property because in a month or 2 months' time, it's going to be under the price that I'm offering. I predict. That's what they're predicting. So why would I pay today's prices when tomorrow's prices are going to be lower? I want to jump ahead of that. I want to buy today, but not at today's prices. And that's the discrepancy that we're seeing, and why we see it.
What we're seeing already is we've come down 10%. So the correction's already happened, in my mind.
What I see is we have really, really low inventory still. We have more buyers than we have houses. The buyers don't have as much buying power. And so we will find that, there is some air coming out of the balloon, but there's still air blowing. There's still an updraft. There's still buyers looking, and I'm working with a lot of buyers right now looking for properties. But are we heading towards a cliff? I don't think so.
Okay. And the other thing is, don't be afraid still to go into multiple offers. It doesn't mean you have to offer an incredible amount, like $100,000 over asking, but still go in, because you may have what it takes in your offer that may win. You could have the better deposit. You could give the dates the seller needs. You could have the terms and conditions that the seller needs. So, I always tell people there's 5 elements to the offer. Everyone's been focusing on number 1, which is price, but there's deposit, there's dates, there's terms and conditions, and then there's all the other conditions.
Sundry. Yeah. And it's important to have that conversation with the other agent. Find out as much as you can about the seller's needs, even in this market where it might feel like, I'm the buyer, I'm the person in power and in control, and I'm the one with the money, and the seller should take everything I'm asking for. The seller has their own particular needs and wants, and you might get more money off if you give the dates the seller needs, or you might win at competition. And Jane, I've been in the situation, you probably have too, where you end up with multiple offers and they're all under asking price.
Yep.
And we're probably going to start seeing more of this.
Let's just talk a bit about dates. So a date for a seller, if they have a fixed term mortgage, is very important, because they have fixed rate mortgage, because they will have to, let's say their mortgage ends on, I don't know, like August 31st, and the new mortgage starts September 1st. If you have a closing on August 30th, that means that seller may lose thousands of dollars. That's why the dates are so important, because they may be paying a penalty. Even if it's just one day, they may be paying a penalty, like now, especially with the interest rate differential, like $30,000.
There's some pretty big interest rate differentials that surprise sellers that haven't really been brought alive to this. But also, again, the dates can be really, really important. They have lined up. Maybe they have a vacation that they've lined up and they can't be moving at those dates because they were planning to be out of town. Maybe they've got another property that they're purchasing or hoping to purchase. There's all kinds of reasons why these dates are so important, and sometimes more important than the money. Now, I was just in a multiple offers situation on a property, first day on market in a townhouse complex. Another property in the complex had been on market for a month and hadn't been getting any love. This property, though, was better situated, better floor plan, better layout. Like everything was about it was a little superior. It was a little more money than the first listing as well. We wrote an offer. We were first to write an offer, but we ended up competing against 2 other offers and ended up offering above asking. And we still had conditions, one condition, but we were able to clean it up, and I was able to have a conversation. And this is the thing that Jane was alluding to too. Like, what we're talking about is not all of this is about what's on the black and white of the contract. So what you put in black and white on the contract, it's really important to have a conversation with the agent to say, here's the reason why we did this, and here's the reason why we will still get to the finish line, but we need to have this and this and this. And now is that going to work for your clients? So
the other thing I'm hearing, let's just move to condos.
Yeah.
We're stuck on housing. But the other thing I'm hearing is that buyers, agents are telling me that they need 2 weeks for condition removal for their financing. And I'm like, well, how is it if there are less offers going through right now that they need more time than they needed over the past 2 years? So really have a discussion with the lender or mortgage broker or whomever you're dealing with to ask them, how much time do I need to remove conditions? Why do I need to? And it may be not the lender. It may be that your buyer needs to provide the lender with some information, like their proof of employment.
Yeah, so there's pre-qualified and there's pre-approved. And if you're pre-approved, you've already provided all those things. If you're pre-qualified, you've kind of given a back of the envelope information to your lender, and they said, based on this, we could probably lend you $1 million. But we need to look at it. And if you then go and buy a place or make an offer on a place, you're going to need a lot longer time because the lender hasn't had the time to do all that due diligence.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's just look at condos. Over the past 2 years, we've gone from about $480 up to $600,000. So that's an increase of $120,000. A lot of people are talking about, well, I'm losing money. They're looking over the immediate past. They're not really looking out over the past 2 years. If we were to compare you over the long term, you've made money. So the market is up over last year, and we're up $50,000. So
yeah, and if you'd bought, and when we look at this curve, we've got a big curve here on the right hand side, and we've got some smaller curves here too beforehand. And we don't know where this curve ends and where it straightens out and goes up again, or if it continues downwards. So what we can see is a trend, but we don't know for sure where that trend ends. And we've seen in the past that they do end. So again, it's funny. I'm feeling a little bit more positive about the market than some of my colleagues.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, again, with a lack of inventory, we're gonna see this is not going to be a cliff.
And I think this is really important. It speaks to the fact that you really need to align yourself with the realtor who has the same perspective and has the same energy as you.
Yeah.
Okay, townhouses, we are back to our up and down. This is because we have less inventory in this market than we do that in the condo and the housing market itself. So we're back down to 850, which is where we were in October after a few bumps. And but we're still up year over year. Compared to last year, we're up over $100,000 and up over $250,000 over 2 years ago.
Yep.
So these are averages as well. This is a fun graph. I love this one.
I'll let you take this.
Okay. So we're going to look at single family homes in Greater Victoria. 237 units were sold in July. This is down 11.8% compared to last month and down 1.8% compared to last year. The median is at 1,087,000. And the average is at 1,199,000. When I look at median compared to average, median tells me where the direction of the market is, and it's lower than the average, so it's coming down. And median for June of 2022 was 1,180,000, and for July of 2021 was 1,050,000. So we're up year over year. So down in units sold, up in price. Condos were at 172 units, an average of 598,000. That's 6.6% down from last month, but up 9.6% from last year. The median is at 550,000. So same with houses, it's down. It's down 2.7% from last month and up 13.4% from last year. So year over year, we're still up, but we're coming down from the high.
I just
So
want to point out too, when you see stories in the media and they talk about, sales down 30%, they don't always make it really clear, and it sometimes looks a little bit more like prices are down, or they pick their stats, I find, based on whatever is the most interesting and shocking. So really got to dig in when you read those stats, because they don't, just because in summer we have 30% less sales, or we've had a slowdown in the market, if prices are still remaining stable, that tells us again that we still have buyers for good properties. They're just not buying. Maybe all the sellers are still asking too much for their homes compared to what they were before.
maybe.
So
row townhouses, 43 sold this July. The average price was $850,000. That's down 8.5% over last month, up 14.8%. So this is just confirming all the data we've just told you. The median was $755,000 for July. And last month, 66 units sold. $930,000 was the average, with a median of $845,000. And compared to last year, we are up from $741,000. And so the units are almost half in row townhouses, but the numbers are up over year over year. So any comments? Any other comments?
No, not going to add any comments to that. I mean, let's talk mobile homes. We don't often talk mobile homes, but let's just go into this one. Only 23 units sold. Which is 21% higher than last month. It's 53% higher than last year. Average price for a mobile home in Victoria is $315,422. You're buying essentially you're buying a tin box. Could be a manufactured home, so a little higher end. But average is $315,422, and you don't own the land. You're just leasing, usually on a monthly basis. It's an incredible number, but it's related to, and this number goes up and down based on how much the rest of Victoria costs. But I just find it fascinating where mobile homes tend to go.
It also is, so people who are moving from condos may move into mobile homes because the outlay at the beginning is less. And the reason why it's less is because the pad fees can be incredibly high. Yep. That being said, there's one place in Sydney which has higher priced mobile homes, and that's because they own the land on which they live. So that's in some.
There's a couple of examples of, yes. I'm sorry, Jane, go ahead.
And also depending on the lease. So like if you were to buy a mobile home around Craigflower area, those the lease is month to month, so bad investment. But if you're going to buy maybe in Central Saanich, they have 20 and 40-year leases. So
yeah, there's townhouses available on Admiral's Road for $225,000. They're 3 beds, 2 baths. You'd probably have to pay it cash only, but there's only 22 years left in the lease on those. And the question of what happens after that lease is up, whether or not you own that. So you could say that's, I did the math on this the other day. It's about $1,000 a month to own that. If you were to just pay it cash, it's the equivalent of having a 3-bed, 2-bath for 22 years at $1,000 a month. But you have to come up with that money in advance. Jane alluded to the Strata property, Summergate Village, which is a great It's a great mobile home option because it's more stable than buying something with a month-to-month lease. There's also co-op co-op mobile home parks, which is owned by a corporation, and you buy a share in the corporation. And that's another option. They've got one of those out in Langford. So when you're looking at mobile homes, it's really important to understand what you're buying. There's a lot of different things that fall under the category of mobile home.
They are built to the same standard of regular homes, but it's the land that's the issue. Usually.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, here are my summary thoughts. Tell me what you think. You get more with honey than you do with vinegar. Don't lowball.
Okay, let's talk on that. There's a lot of people who do want to lowball right now, right? And I just mentioned losing a client who was looking to, I guess, from my perspective, it made sense for that client to continue to wait if they felt the market was going to drop, but not to try to get ahead of it too far, because then we're just creating a lot of heartache and pain for everyone involved, with very little chance of success. But the whole, you do always get more honey than you do with vinegar. Lowballing only makes sense if the property's been on market for a long time, or if you really know something that there is some motivation and you can provide something to the seller that is easy for them to, if you can solve a solution for the seller.
Good point. So if you find out what the seller needs in order to make the transaction work.
In other words, to use another analogy, add a spoonful of sugar.
And sellers are still working in the April market, exactly what you were saying. They're they will move less quickly than a buyer will. I have had people who price sharply. Sellers are more optimistic than buyers are always, except in the type of market that we've been. And what I found now is buyers now are a bit angry. And so I've been on a couple of forums recently. Buyers are coming in, they're writing offers, the seller counters, and the buyer walks away.
It's interesting, but buyers are finally feeling like they've got some love, some power, some ability to negotiate, and that's been a long time. And I've felt really bad for buyers over the last couple of years, and it is it'd be wonderful to get back to a balanced market. It's just really important, and I always stress this, to work in the reality of the market that we're sitting within. And if we're trying to get ahead of it too far, we're not going to be successful.
Yeah, so where the buyer needs to worry a bit is that if they throw away the deal now, that they're going to end up in a higher interest point and finding the ideal home. I mean, when I first got into the market, as a realtor, I showed one of my clients, this was a mistake. I showed him the best home first. And then when he was like, this is too easy. It can't be this easy. This is exactly what I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And then that house, we didn't offer on it because he couldn't make a decision knowing that it was too easy. And so it took us 4 months to find another home. It was just down the street, and we ended up having to pay more money.
This sometimes does happen. And I would add to that it sometimes can be that easy, and it is important to recognize that. But I always just coach my clients to buy the right house for them, and negotiate the best price you can on it. But don't try to save yourself $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. I know everybody has their own idea of what a lot of money is, but there's a lot of value in finding the right home for you and the right home for your family and the right location. And when you add all those things up and you amortize that over the time that you'd be living in the home, I'm not amortizing the money, I'm amortizing the less stress you're going to have from having a home that doesn't need a bunch of updates, the less stress you're going to have from being able to commute 10 minutes instead of 25 minutes a day, the less stress you have from being able to have your kids walk to school and their play dates with their friends who are in that school or in the same neighborhood, rather than having to drive all the time to go see. There's so much more to valuing a home. And so if the right home comes along and you walk away because the seller didn't want to take an extra $10,000 off and you felt that that's what the most fair thing should have been, you're going to be looking now 4 months later, like Jane's client was, and still not finding what you're looking for. And where's the value in that?
I really felt the proximity issue when we moved just 10 kilometers in from Pearson College. And we moved into we're on the edge of Colwood and Machosen. And the fact that I didn't have to drive 10 minutes in and 10 minutes out every day, literally 3 times a day. So what is that? An hour and a half to my day. All of a sudden, I had way more time. It was way easier. And I grew up in a neighborhood where everything was, immediate, and we had long-term housing. Moving housing is disruptive, and it's discombobulating, and it's tough, and it costs a lot of money. Like, some people say, well, how about we just get into the market and then we'll find out our ideal home later. Well, find the home that meets your needs 80% of the time, because if you're 80% of the way there, that's really, really good. you're not going to find the perfect home. And those people who are, I guess, researchers and afraid sometimes of making the wrong decision, sometimes the hesitation
is the wrong decision.
Is the wrong decision.
Yeah. And it's important to trust. And again, trust this so many times. Listen to your agent, trust your agent. If you don't trust your agent, if you're not on the same page, have a conversation with them and maybe ask them to help you find somebody that could work well with them. I mean, Jane and I we're different approaches. The people who I work with, I mean, they all love me. The people who work with Jane, they all love her. No, that's not true, right? But we do form relationships with our clients, and we need to be on the same page. And if there's a discrepancy in our beliefs or our expectations, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, that's true. And the other thing is, talk to your agent. Needs and wants is so important. Just don't go out there and start looking at properties without that discussion, because you're really going to waste time. And maybe next week we could talk about how to look at listings effectively, like looking at the floor plan, looking at the map, just seeing everything you need to know about a home before you go and actually set up a viewing, because you can save yourself a lot of time if you go, you know what, a closet in the front hall is really important to me.
Yeah. Knowing what, and being on the same page with your significant other, and then knowing what you guys want and being on the same page about it. But to use the Yellow Pages, the old Yellow Pages analogy, let your fingers do the walking, let your mouse do the exploring. Look at these properties online. You don't get this. There is a visceral effect of actually being inside of a home. You get to smell the home. You get to experience what it feels like. You get to experience the light, because photography is always really good at making a wide angle, a room look larger and brighter than it is, or darker and smaller, depending on the camera and photographer and realtor. So important to get inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you can't make it, ask your agent to go and preview the property for you. Mm-hmm. And if you trust them, they'll give you a really good overview of the market and also of the home and where it fits in the market. So anyway, okay, I know that you're about to go on holiday. So everybody, don't forget to subscribe. Boom. We're here every Monday morning at 10 a.m. We'd love to see you. And if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to post your comments. We love to hear those as well. Somebody said they felt that they were posting too many comments. No, we love it.
Yeah, we love it. We love the interaction. So please keep it going. Jane, thanks. Have a great week. Oh, I have listings coming up. So I've got to say, if anybody's looking for a condo in the Laurel Point building on Belleville, this is a 6th floor condo with great water views over the Inner Harbor. It's going to be $899,000. Has an updated kitchen. It's a very clean unit. Going to be going to market on Thursday, 2 weeks from now.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe, for watching.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, I do have some, but we haven't actually come up with the information yet on them. So I'll come up and show that. How do people reach you, Andrew? Reach me, email info@andrewplank.com, text or phone 250-360-6106, and website, check out the website, www.andrewplank.com. Joe, I'm going to be calling you a little bit later to talk about the Pender Island property. Okay, awesome. And my name's Jane Johnston. You can reach me at 250-744-0775. I can be reached by email at briarhillgroup@gmail.com. And I have 2 websites for you. One is briarhillgroup.com, where you'll learn about buying and selling homes, and vancouverislandtime.com, where you'll see these videos as well as more about neighborhoods in Greater Victoria. Have a great day. We have one more comment. Joe says great. Yay! Great. All right, everybody, have a great week. Next week, we'll be talking about letting your mouse search for the house. Bye. Sounds good. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye.